In this lecture, we are going to be talking about theories of play. This is the first part of our theories of play lecture. Next week, we will dive into part 2. So throughout this series, in theories of play, we will be discussing ideas about why children play, how play develops across time, and what it means to play according to various theorists. So make sure that you watch this one this week, and then next week you watch the second part of theories of play, and it will all tie in together. Okay, so jumping right in on philosophers of play, or the original thinkers of play and their ideas on play, we're going to be talking about Locke, Kant, Schiller, and Froebel. And they all looked at play from slightly different viewpoints. So John Locke believed that play helped children to improve their overall health and spirit. He asserted the idea of children's minds being like a blank slate or a tabula rasa, and that they are strongly influenced by their external environment. So the external environment is the key factor into how children come to be. He also believes that children need to be actively engaged when they are playing. And then we have Immanuel Kant. He believed that play was an essential to the pursuit of children's knowledge. He was more focused on the adult imagination and valued the cognitive and mental views of play. And later theorists applied Kant's ideas to the thoughts of children's play. Then we have Friedrich von Schiller, who believed that play resulted from unexpended energy that is not used for work, also known as surplus energy, which is on the next slide. And he thought that play was an additive to when the work was all done. So you used all your energy during the workday, and then if and when you had energy left over, then it could be used for play. Work was considered and is considered the survival need in the surplus energy theory. And then, like I said, if you have enough energy once you're finished, you could spend that energy playing. Friedrich Froebel believed that children learn naturally through play and practically plans educational settings is how they learn. So he focused on child-led play and believed that if children are nourished like flowers in a garden, then this is going to support them in growing. Just like we still use today, he valued play with objects, so looking at block play and specific activities geared towards learning, and also the influence of adults as the primary play partners in creating meaningful play for children. So make sure that you check out the video below to learn more about Froebel. Okay, so now we're going to discuss scientists on play ideas. So I already discussed the surplus energy theory and how that is unexpended energy that is not used for work can then be used for play later on if and when you have enough energy and or time. The recreation theory is somewhat similar. Both surplus energy and recreation theory are ways of thinking about work first and play second. So recreation theory is the idea that helps children to refuel their energy. So this goes with the whole notion, and the premise of recess is based on the recreation theory, giving children the opportunity to have, in the sense, a brain break from their work. So recess is utilized in elementary school as a brain break. When children are done working, then they can go and have a moment to reset and allow their brains to be restored before they go back and utilize their energy on more work. And then next is Stanley Hall's recapitulation theory. And this is an evolutionary theory which states that modern behaviors are based on historical purposes of human beings. So animals, their state of being connected to the movement, of climbing or jumping or running. However, child play is not considered to be progressed through this theory. And then last but not least, practice theory by Carl Groos, which talks about play as a way to prepare children for adult life. He saw play in two different ways: experimental play, which looks at object manipulation, construction, and games with rules. And then socionomic play, which looked at dramatic play, interpersonal skills, and imitation. So maybe you have a child who is in the dramatic play area and they are pretending to sweep up, or they're wiping down the tables, or they're feeding their baby doll. Or maybe they're imitating you as you are rocking a child during nap time, and they go and grab their baby doll and they start rocking their baby doll and saying shh, shh, shh. So that's what socionomic play can look like, and taking play as a way to reenact the real world and what's going to happen, and preparing children to have the skills for later on in life. Okay, so now we're going to talk about education philosophers and their ideas on play. So first we have Maria Montessori, who was the first Italian physician. She lived in a housing project and actually created an entire educational system for children to be able to have more structured play opportunities in an effort to ameliorate the effects of poverty. So she created a planned environment with child-sized materials and believed that play precedes learning. Children were not meant to play in the sense of pretending with the materials, but instead they were to use the materials as a way to learn vital skills in the real world. So they had child-sized materials such as a pitcher, and this pitcher wasn't used to pretend to pour a glass of water or a glass of milk, but it was actually going to be used at the table during mealtime for children to practice pouring a glass of water or a glass of milk. And it showed whether or not children were ready for the real world, and if they needed more practice, or if they weren't ready, and what the next steps were for them. So check out the two videos below to learn more about Maria Montessori and what her educational system looks like today, and how it's reflected in schools, and what the system for children look like now. Next, we have John Dewey, who was one of the first people in the early 1920s who thought that play was a way to internalize knowledge and a free activity integral to creating democracy. So basically, the reason that we have free choice opportunities for young children, and we have the ideas of giving children tasks or jobs in the classroom and allowing them the opportunities to have real world participation within an environment classroom setting, is because of John Dewey. He believed that children needed to act out their ideas before they were able to fully take in what they were learning. And he noted that for younger children, there was much less of an idea that distinguished the difference between work and play, and older children were able to understand the concept of work in comparison to play, and it was more clearly established. And then Joan Huizinga, there's a couple names throughout our lectures that I may butcher, so bear with me. So he thought that play both sustains and changes culture, and play is often conflictual. Play creates culture, and culture informs play, and that culture and time are reflected in children's play. So Huizinga's notion of play strongly influences who we are in the bigger sense of our society as a whole. The values that we hold, the identities that we have, and the individuals that we are in the context of a larger group are all factors that determine the nature of our play. And there's a quote here by John Dewey, if you haven't read it already, but it says, "Give the pupil something to do, not something to learn." And the doing is of such a nature as to demand thinking, learning naturally results. So as I was saying, he believes that children are meant to act out their ideas and fully take in that learning after they've gotten the opportunity to act it out. So again, this is just one part of our Theories to Play lecture. We will be discussing the second part next week, so make sure that you watch that one or read that one next week. And we'll be discussing the psychoanalytic theories, communication theories, cognitive development theories, and social theories next week. All right, everyone. Have a good day or evening whenever you're watching this, and I will talk to you next week. Make sure that you complete your discussion post 1 as well as your get to know me. They are both due by September 3rd.